I'm not going to lie. At first, I was a little intimidated because Anthony was so good and worked so well in the ring, and I felt like I still had a lot to learn. So I was worried about making him look bad.
We're going to watch the one and only time you wrestled Kid Krush.
Oh, okay.
Everyone wanted to wrestle Kid Krush. You only got to do it once. So that's what we're going to watch here. We're going to watch you and Kid Krush.
For sure.
Now, this is probably like November 2002. So this is 22 years ago.
Oh, my gosh. That's so crazy.
But here comes Kid Krush. Looking just sour as ever. Now, what do you remember about this match? Do you remember the reason we did this? Was it just like, hey, you haven't wrestled Kid Krush yet?
I think that was it. I remember Anthony and I kind of working over some things we wanted to do in this match, like a head scissors, and Anthony was like, even though I was at my skinniest back then, he was like, no, I don't think I want that kind of weight around my neck. We won't do that. Like, just trying to figure out what would work best.
Yeah.
And I was still face at the time.
I think so.
This was after the invasion angles, well after that.
Yeah.
But this is before I took my long hiatus, or short-ish hiatus. This was before. Okay, cool. I'm just trying to remember the timeline here.
Yeah, this is early season 5, so I don't think you've taken your break yet. You would in a couple months. So we're coming to the end of your little run here.
Right. I'm no longer a championship of anything. Yeah. I kind of had I had a feud with, is this after my feud with Travis?
Yeah, this is after that.
Okay, cool. So, I didn't have much purpose, really. I didn't really have a storyline going on. I was just K9 operating as, oh, there I go. I had I remember doing different things for, my my entry during my time, as K9. I had the same thing as the Hound, where I would come in and, do a fist bump to because I came out to Who Let the Dogs Out. But K9, I don't think I ever quite found an entry that I liked. Oh, so working the knee. So K9 was a very, I tried to he was basically a technical wrestler. So my whole deal was work on a specific body part, take you down that way. Because I was a fan of wrestlers like that. Dean Malenko, Bret Hart, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho. I know I'm not supposed to say Chris Benoit's name out loud, but keep in mind, this is before he, murdered his entire family and then killed himself. I had no way of knowing this is how his life was going to turn out at this point. Guys like Kurt Angle. So Anthony, was so wonderful to work. Everybody loved wrestling Anthony.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the one and only time you got to wrestle him. So what was your experience like being in the ring with him? Were you like, oh, this is how it's? Was it like in Wizard of Oz when everything becomes fucking color and it's been black and white?
I'm not gonna lie. At first, I was a little intimidated because Anthony was so good and worked so well in the ring, and I felt like I still had a lot to learn. So I was worried about making him look bad, honestly.
I mean, he's bumping his ass off. We saw that clothesline.
Yes.
He's bumping his ass off for you.
And throughout this match, at the time, I was just focusing on being as good as I could. So that, when people are looking at this, they're not like, oh, this, K9's weak or Anthony should have wrestled someone better, and I was a little nervous, but I'm not going to lie. The more the match wore on, the better I felt about it. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So, when am I up? Spear. Nope. Yep, spear.
And you saw how he got off the ground. Both legs got in. He's
you just look so good wrestling Ant. You could not know what you're doing at all, and Anthony will still make you
People used to fight over who got to wrestle Anthony that day. And
for me, I didn't wrestle Anthony for so long because we were in the same clique for a long time. He was a member of TNC, which is something we'll discuss in other videos, obviously. So I didn't want to wrestle Anthony until the time was right, because I but once I realized we weren't going to be in the same clique anymore, I was like, yeah, let's do this. I was always like considering like storylines and all that kind of stuff. Why are we wrestling each other? But ultimately, this is one of the cases where we wrestled each other because it was just a damn good match, you know? Yeah. Like, this had no long-term repercussions for either of us. This had no...
That was so clean.
That was very clean. Kick out.
Now, did you feel like you had to step up your game to hang with him in the ring?
Yeah.
Because I felt that way all the time.
No, I definitely, like I said, like I was nervous at going in, mainly because I was like, I want to be as good as I can, as better than I've ever been. Oh my God, the way that he took that like full Nelson driving slam that I did, Anthony sold and worked with you more than anybody. And one of my concerns was, am I going to be able to sell and take the moves just as well as he? Because one thing I've always been, there's two main things that I always like worried about in the ring. Is safety. Am I being safe? Am I being safe with my opponent? Like, am I going to accidentally hurt them? And two, am I going to make them look good? Am I going to be able to take everything that they throw at me? So that, like, when you're watching, you're like, oh, yeah, he actually got height on that, or he sold that well. Because I want people to actually feel like when they go in the ring with me that they're also having a good time. They also look good. Mm-hmm. So, definitely I came into this thinking, geez, I gotta step this up a bit. I am wrestling like one of the greatest performers that we had in PWL. Like, this is...
Yeah, I mean, Kid Krush was easily the best of us. And it's like, in hindsight, we probably should have put you guys together more. Because it seems like you guys are clicking. Like, you guys are on the same page with a lot of this stuff.
Absolutely. Like, oh my, we could have had a great feud. Like...
Especially if, you could have done like a whole psychological thing, and him being like the powerhouse flippy dippy dude, and you playing mind games and having a ground and pound. Like, y'all could have made that work.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, hindsight being 2020.
Oh my gosh, like, talk about missed opportunity. And like, he's right there, and I'm right there, and I just wasn't. I think at this point in the game, I wasn't really seeing myself as a top guy, and Anthony I saw as a top guy. Like, I was a top guy the last season, when we had, which I don't want to go too far into because I know we're going to cover that at some point. Yeah. But, like, I was not a top guy at this point, at least not as K9. I felt like I was more of a Bones was more of a driving force than, Bones had more to do than the K9 character, to be real with you. I might be wrong about that, but like, I might be remembering that. But I think Bones had the more entertaining stuff going on, and the K9 was sort of adrift, because it's like, where do you go after you reach a certain height, right? You just kind of.
It's always like, okay, I've been chasing the belt, but then once you get it, like, okay, then you kind of flatline. Mm-hmm. In your case, you had lost the belt, and now you're just kind of, well, I'm not on top anymore. It's these other guys' time to shine. What am I supposed to do? And you did kind of flounder during this little run here,
But you know what? I was very glad to put over other people, and like I had felt like I was more concerned with telling good stories, and I feel like
watch this. I got to put this over. Look how goddamn beautiful that was.
Oh yeah.
I had to give you your flowers. Okay, you were saying.
Oh yeah, that crescent kick was one of my favorites. You know what I mean? Like, around this time, I was experimenting with like using more kicks than just like the super kick. I was flying a little bit more in my matches. Like, I did this like frog splash. Sometimes I did like a headbutt. Look at me moving. Is that Anthony's brother?
It might be. I think it was. I think it was.
I think that's Kid Krush's brother over there that I'm moving aside.
And here, are you?
Headbutt! Headbutt splash.
And look at that. You got totally flat. You didn't have your legs down or anything. Yeah, that was beautiful. You know how graceful that was.
I really like watched Anthony work. I watched pro wrestlers work, and I did my best to bump right. You know what I mean? Like I did my best to imitate what I saw, and but it also helps that I have an opponent like Anthony here who's like willing to take whatever, and I'm willing to take whatever, and we trust each other. You know, I think this match, if nothing else, shows the level of trust we had. Like, this is just beautiful.
He went all the way across the ring, too. 1, 2. Oh, no, you got your shoulder up. I don't remember what the finish of this is, so
I don't either.
Along for the ride.
So all right, so I'm moving into it. I did like a lot of rest holds back in the day because this is my style. I'm a technical wrestler. And like Anthony, look at Anthony struggling to get out of there, elbows to the chest. Like,
he's selling all your shit. He's putting you over big. See, Anthony, he would make everyone look like $1 million.
I think the only reason I didn't feud with, one of the other reasons I didn't feud with Anthony was I self-consciously felt like I'd screw it up somehow. Like, you know, we're going to have this run of matches and I'm going to make some big mistake and Anthony's so good. But looking back at this, I'm like, okay,
yeah, whatever. See, it's at a weird point because he's on the way up because we're building him up towards the world championship. He's the U.S. champion now.
Pounding on the
you
leg
just
again.
Lost the world title, so you're on your way down. And so this is a point where like you both kind of intersect while you're on the way down and he's on the way up. And it just happened to be right place, right time. And us just figuring like, K9 deserves a match with Anthony, doesn't he?
Yep. And there's my inverted, my like modified figure 4 sitting up, doing a bit of a taunt. Up, grab the ropes. I remember having an argument with an official backstage who I won't name yet. It's like, well, you don't. The rope. There's no rope breaks in backyard wrestling. I'm like, PWL's different though. We have divisions for this. We have a hardcore division where stuff like that wouldn't matter.
Yeah. Well, you also need that for like a storytelling device. Other people just put a submission on you forever. Why would anybody let go of a hold? So there was some psychology there. But I think we were just too young to really understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's he? Oh, picking you up. Is he going? Is this the finish?
I think it's the TKO. I think that's how he decided to end it because Anthony would change his signature every so often.
He would change his finisher like he was changing clothes. 1,
2, and 3.
That's it. That was your only match with Kid Krush.
I mean, but you know what? It wasn't a job. What I really like about it is that it wasn't a job. Like, Anthony made it look like it was difficult to beat me. You know, if there was one change, I'd make 2 changes. One, when he does the sort of sunset flip, that I would have timed that a little bit better and bumping for that. And the second thing I probably would have done differently, or I wish Anthony would have done differently, is sold the knee a bit more. Because I was working on his legs, you know, maybe a little bit of a limp. But other than that, that match was perfect. Like,
I know, right?
It's like, oh my gosh.
Fucking killed it.